Bob Glauber, NFL columnist, New York Newsday, here on Big Board Sports, reacting to the NFL draft and reacting to the Jets picks on Thursday, Friday, and through the weekend. Good morning, Bob Glauber, Roger Weiland, Chris Honorado in Albany. How are you?
Gentlemen, I'm great. Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
All good, my man. All good. Where do you stand on how the Jets did? I mean, it's impossible to tell really until they get on the field and start to play, but just that first pick, third overall, Sam Darnold seems to have a really good fit for the Jets.
He sure does, Roger. And I think this is a draft that kind of reminded me of when Leonard Williams came out. Because remember when everyone was expecting the Redskins to take him at, I believe it was 5, and then they take Brandon Sheriff, the guard from Iowa, and then that leaves Leonard Williams right there. And this is an even more important one, that the Browns decided on Sam Darnold, and the Giants were obviously locked in on Saquon Barkley, and it just opened the door that Sam Darnold felt, heaven forbid he's Sam Bradford, Sam Darnold fell to the Jets. It was a great piece of fortune there, I think.
Yeah, I do. I really do. I mean, I know he turns the ball over a few too many times, but I was surprised, to be honest with you, Bob, that they got him, and a little bit fortunate for Mike Maccagnan, because when Cleveland did what they did and went with Mayfield, I really thought that maybe the Giants would have gone away from the running back Barkley, and I know they liked Darnold and would have went with Darnold number 2, but when that didn't happen, I kind of felt that the Jets would go Darnold, and they really got I think a really good quarterback. How quickly he's going to play, Bob, what would you say about that? I mean, it's McCown obviously to start, Bridgewater still in the mix as well, but how quickly do you think Sam Darnold plays for Gang Green?
You know, I think it will be some time, and I think, Roger, they have the luxury of time with Josh McCown there, and it's such a perfect fit as far as McCown being a guy who he understands who he is and what he's about right now. He's a bridge quarterback, and he will play until Sam Darnold is ready. Now, when he's ready, the guy's 20 years old. And remember, they were making excuses about Christian Hackenberg. You know, he's still only 21 years old and hadn't played for 2 years. So I think they will take their time with Sam Darnold. I would take my time with Sam Darnold because you have a guy in Josh McCown who is such a professional. He's such a locker room leader. I can't tell you how many players, former and current, who I come across who've been in contact with Josh McCown who say they absolutely love the guy. Chad Pennington, I was talking to him before the draft, I asked about if he knew McCown. He goes, yeah. He was a teammate of mine for 2 weeks. 2 weeks in Miami, and he's one of my all-time favorites ever in the NFL. And I think that speaks volumes about a guy who the Jets now have who can groom and show a guy like Sam Darnold the ropes. And Darnold, I think, will be a very eager pupil with Josh McCown. He's a great learner. He's a gym rat. You know, he doesn't have that magnetic personality, and that's a good thing, especially in this town. You want to be kind of a low-key. You know, Eli Manning has been around for 14, 15 years with that low-key personality, and it really helps, and I think it'll help Sam Darnold.
Bob Glauber with us here on Big Board Sports 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio. Check him out on Twitter, simply at Bob Glauber. Bob, we talk about maybe Darnold has time to develop before he kind of has to hit the field here with Josh McCown and Bridgewater in front of him on the depth chart. But how much time do Mike Maccagnan and Todd Bowles have? And is there any risk that one or both of them may see their future in Sam Darnold and say, we've got to get him on the field sooner rather than later?
Well, you know, I think that may come into play, and it's fair that you bring that up. But as far as I'm concerned, if you're either of those guys and you stake your future to Sam Darnold, it's obvious they have. You know, you want to do everything that he's going to be ready to play. Do you want a Troy Aikman situation where he goes 1-11 his rookie year? You know, look, it worked out great for Aikman after that, obviously, but he had a lot of pieces around him. The Jets don't have that kind of roster just yet, but like the Cowboys did in '89. So, you know, I think they'll just take it smartly. And I've seen Todd Bowles in action. I know him, and I know what he's about. And I don't think he's going to put a guy out there before he's ready. You saw what he did with Christian Hackenberg. A lot of people were calling for, what are you doing? You're out of the playoffs. You got to play Hackenberg. You got to see what you got. Well, Todd Bowles knew what he had because he watched Christian Hackenberg in practice every day, and he realized he was not ready. So he resisted that temptation.
Yeah,
that's a good thing to have as a coach, just to not worry about public pressure.
Yeah, they have 5 quarterbacks, so obviously 2 of them are going to be gone. I would assume the 2 are Hackenberg and Petty, and then we'll see what happens with the 3. How about the rest of their draft? Are we all? Most Jet fans, I think, are happy with Sam Darnold, no doubt about it. How about the rest of the draft for the Jets, Bob?
Yeah, I think the rest is just kind of going to be hit and miss. They didn't have a second-round pick because they had to trade both in the trade that they got from 6 to 3. So, third-round pick Nathan Shepard from Fort Hays State. Now he's a defensive tackle. And he's an older player. He's kind of bounced around a little bit. But, they have some age at the defensive tackle spot. They got rid of Sheldon Richardson and Mo Wilkerson over the last year, so they obviously have a need there. I think the one guy who you might see him, sooner rather than later is the 4th-round tight end, Chris Herndon out of Miami. He's a bit more NFL ready, perhaps, than the other draft picks that the Jets have. So, I think of all the picks that they've got, he might be the guy who's ready to contribute the earliest. Marion Jenkins leaves as a free agent, so there's obviously an opening there.
Yeah, agreed on the 4th-round pick. Pay close attention to Chris Herndon, the tight end, as Bob mentioned. I think he could see the field and make a contribution. But the other question is, whoever starts at quarterback, who's at wide receiver? Who's the Jets' top wide receiver? Is it Robbie Anderson, Jermaine Kearse, and Nunwa? Throw him in the mix. I mean, do the Jets have some receivers? Because they didn't do anything with their offensive line, so they must feel O-line is okay. So, to protect the quarterback, who's he throwing the ball to?
Well, they only have 17 receivers on the roster, Roger. What's your complaint, man?
Are any of them any good?
No, I think you'll see the opening day starters probably Kearse. If it looks like he'll stay. He got a cap issue there, and Robbie Anderson. He's got some legal situations to get past, and I think he will do that, and he's got to straighten his personal life out. But I do think the starters would be Kearse and Robbie Anderson, and if Enunwa comes back, great luxury to have him at full strength. I mean, he really started to show and flash before he had that neck injury that put him out for last year. So, that would be I guess you'd call it a solid but not spectacular group. But, Robbie Anderson made a lot of strides last year, and he really proved to be a capable deep threat. And it's hard to find those guys. So, I think that's one reason they're patient with him with the off-field issues, and I think he'll be a big contributor.
Do you think the Jets will, with what they've done here, and Darnold and the guys we're talking about, can this be a much improved Jets team next season?
I think improved. I don't think much improved. They did get a little bit better on the defensive side. I think another year in Todd Bowles' system will help them. Jamal Adams certainly feeling very confident about himself, chatting away on Twitter and talking about. He had a line yesterday or the day before, Josh Allen, the new quarterback, he called him my favorite new quarterback and showed a picture of Josh Allen throwing an interception. So he's clearly trolling the Bills quarterback very early on. So I think the defense will be better. But, look, they were kind of a cute and cuddly team last year. They fought their way to 6 wins, and, they were in the playoff hunt the first half of the season, and then, it all kind of went south. But I think it's a good young team. But again, I think this thing is going to take some time, especially when your quarterback, the guy is going to be your long-term quarterback, is still a year or two away from being, fully functional as an NFL quarterback.
Bob Glauber, always a pleasure, my man. Keep up the great work. New York Newsday, longtime NFL columnist, and I will see you on the trails, I'm sure.
Awesome. Thanks, Roger.
Thank you, Bob.
Chris.
Appreciate
Bob.
it. Bob Glauber with us here on Big Board Sports.